Hello, YouTube and valued viewers. Byron at Splitting Slices. Welcome back to the Knife and EDC channel. Today is Sunday, July 26, 2026, and that means it's time to do our part 2 of a 5-part open tag series called 3x5 Case Knives. Now, this was an open tag started by Knife Chats with Tobias. The idea is show 5 knives for 5 consecutive days for a total of 25 of your favorite case knives. For me, I'm going to show 3 a day because quite frankly, I don't own that many. So let's get into it. Today's part 2 series is going to be what I'm going to call my one-offs. So this is where I basically bought a pattern of case knife to try it in hand, see if it might be something I'd like to collect a few more of, and also take advantage of basically the camaraderie that is involved with visiting some of the case tour events throughout the year. Now, if none of you have done this, I highly recommend you go check one out. It's a good way to get a limited edition case knife, first of all. Secondly, it gives you a chance to meet some other like-minded people, trade, swap, possibly talk about different case knives. Many people bring some of their more classic antique type models. You get to see some older knives, and you also get to experience some new. So it's a pretty good time if you enjoy socializing, talking knives with other people. And they usually have somewhere between 12 to 15 of these events a year, mostly within the Midwest, the East, and the southern part of the United States. So you can always go to caseknives.com, search or query on events, and you should be able to pull up a calendar of all the events that are going to be taking place for that particular year. This is kind of an annual planned thing, so every February, March, it's time to look for that new calendar, see what events are being listed for the year, and then try to make the one that's closest to you. That's the way I recommend doing it. Now, let's go ahead and talk about these knives. Now, all 3 knives that I have on the table today are event knives. So they came from one of the case tour events over the last few years. I've attended several of them. I like to go to 1 or 2 of them a year. And sometimes I use it as an excuse for a road trip with my wife. You know, we'll go do maybe a hotel stay at a night. A lot of times the Case Collectors Club will meet the night before for dinners. I am not a member currently, but I do know they do that. Gives us an excuse to do a road trip throughout the summer, fall, or spring. So let's get into it. The first knife I've got here on the table is my only Canoe that I own from Case. Now, this is Case part number CA 53273, but the pattern number that everybody recognizes is 62131 SS. Now, what that stands for is this is the ASI 2023 Case Country 2 Tour Event Knife from the Ossian, Indiana hardware store that was held on November 4th, 2023. This is one of the event knives that was sold at that event, and this is the Caribbean Blue Smooth Bone Canoe. This is in a limited edition run. I think somewhere around 75 to 100 of these were made for the Ossian, Indiana hardware event, and the knife, I think, was manufactured in October of 23. If we open up the knife, you can see, well, it's kind of hard to see here, but it does have the 7-dot pattern on it, which tells you it is a 2023 with the Case XX etching in it. All right. A little bit about the specs on these canoes. So the closed length is 3 1/8 inches. When it's open like this, showing that spear point blade or drop point blade on this, the overall length is 6 1/4 inches when open. Blade length is 2 5/8 inches with a cutting edge length of 2 1/4 inches. Okay, the overall height of the knife is 1 inch. When it's closed, right there at the height of that spear blade going down to the handle. All right. The overall thickness of the knife is 3/8 of an inch. And you can see that it's constructed with both steel and brass liners. and the weight on this knife is 2.7 ounces. All right. Now this has been surprisingly nice carry in the pocket. I wasn't sure I was going to like this knife only because it is fairly tall at 1 inch, but it fits nicely in a smaller 2-tool sheath that I have for the pocket. I normally carry a little blue flashlight and a little Olight i3E EOS flashlight in that slip as well, along with this little Canoe. And it works out to be a really nice 5th pocket carry for me when I want a smaller knife. Now, of course, the Canoe is named because it actually looks like a canoe as far as the handle. If you look at it, okay, opened up there, those 2 copper lock bolsters on either end give the overall handle appearance the same profile as a canoe, and therefore it got its name. All right. So it has been a nice little pocket carry. So it is constructed of brass liners with that stainless steel spring, nickel silver bolsters, and this one has brass pins, 3-pin construction, holding on that smooth blue bone. And I do like the aqua or watercolored Caribbean blue that they call this. Nice coloring. Okay, Case XX script shield with the Country 2 Tour a symbol on that. And you also see where it says Ossian Hardware, which is where the event was held. So that's my first and only Case Canoe that I have. Now the second knife I've got here is my only Case Russlock that I own. And this also was an event knife, and actually from, I believe, the same event. So this knife is CA 51859, or the pattern number that most people know this of is 61953L, standing for lock, stainless steel. Now this is what they call the pocket-worn Mediterranean blue peach seed jigged bone Russlock. So this is the Russlock pattern. This is a limited edition knife. Again, only about 100 of these were made for the Case Country 2 Tour event knife for the Ossian Hardware store in 2023. So this is also a 7-dot knife. Okay. Now a few specs on this. When the knife is closed, you have 3.5 inches from bolster to bolster, but with that front flipper sticking out, it is 4 inches overall length. All right, when you open the knife up, your overall length is 6.25 inches. Blade length on this, and we'll go ahead and open it up. It is an upswept Persian style clip point blade or skinning blade with a little bit of recurve when it comes back in and there on the edge to the tang. Very unique looking knife profile for a Case. Very unique. All right, and of course it has that mounted front flipper, and it's also could be used to open the knife with one hand if you need to. All right. Now, a little bit of story on this knife. Basically, the Russlock was introduced in the first Case catalog in the year 2000. And this was designed by their master knife maker at the time, Tommy Hart, who actually soon died after this knife was released. In fact, I think this was his probably last design before he passed away and no longer worked at Case. Now, this was originally designed as a tribute knife to one of the founders of Case knives, and that would be J. Russell Case. Now, the pattern number on this knife is 1953, and that is the year that J. Russell passed. So, it was a tribute knife dedicated to the founder, Russell Case, and therefore was given the name Russlock. And it is a liner lock knife. So you do have this traditional slip joint with the spring activating as this, as the mechanism to open the knife, but it also has a built-in liner lock. So in order to close the knife, you have to take your thumb, push that liner over, and that allows you to fold the blade in. Two-handed closing, no way you're going to do that with one hand. But just a unique design, nice tribute knife, and I think it's cool that they were able to kind of incorporate that 1953 into the overall pattern name and number, as well as, in tribute of J. Russell Case. So don't carry this one very often. This is kind of a special events carry that I'll use because it's nice to talk about it a little bit, share the story, and I think it is a unique design. But my only case Russlock that I have from the 2023 tour event. And now the third and final knife that I'm going to show you today is my only one-armed razor that I have. Now, this was Case's vault pattern for 2024, and since it did come out of the vault and was built for that year, the Rochdale Hardware store, which held one of its first Case events ever, and it was part of the family reunion tour for 2024, they made this one of their event knives for sale. So this is called the one-arm razor. It's in a natural smooth bone and with a beautiful Case special shield that says family reunion with the Case XX on it. And of course that's a 3-pin brass construction on that smooth bone. If we turn it over, you can see this side of the bone. Nice natural coloring, a little bit of toasting, a little bit of, I don't know if that's dye or almost like an ink applied work, almost like a scrimshaw type coloring in that bone. But it gives it a really unique, older antique look character to it. All right. Of course, this one has brass liners, 2 stainless steel springs, the nickel silver bolsters with that big larger front bolster, almost like a Barlow type bolster on the head bolster end. All right. Now the transitions on most of my cases from the bolster to the bone is smooth, but this one the bone actually kind of sits down in. It's almost like an inlay on both sides. So the bolsters are a little proud on this knife, but that's okay. They're fastened on tight. The bone is not cracked at the pin locations. No gaps whatsoever in its construction, so I'm really happy with this sample. And again, it's my only one-arm razor. Now, this is a fairly old pattern for Case. It's been built since the 1940s, but of course then was retired and put in the vault. So this is something that comes in and out of the vault now on a periodic basis. All right. Overall specs on this one, I think we covered some of them, but when it's open, it's 6 7/8 inches long. When it's closed, that knife overall handle length there is 3 7/8 inches. Has a 3-inch long blade, and we'll open that blade up so you can see that. It basically would be a bellied spear if it didn't have the tip ground off of it in that S curve shape that you see. All right, with a little tiny little bit of recurve coming back into the tang. But that's a 3-inch long blade with a 2 5/8 inch cutting edge length. All right. You have a 2 3/8 inch pen blade, which is right there. I'm not going to open that one up. All right. It has a 1 7/8 inch cutting edge length. The handle thickness on this one, if you carry it in the pocket right there at the back bolster, that's 7/16 of an inch thick. All right. And the overall height of the knife at the highest part of that razor blade down to the scales is 15/16 of an inch. Knife weighs 3.4 ounces overall. Don't carry this one a whole lot. I really don't have a use for the one-armed razor, so to speak. Now, this was manufactured as a travel shaver, but I'll tell you what, I'd probably have a beard because while the blade is cut sharp enough to have a working edge, I'm not sure I'd want to try to shave with this one. Thank God for disposable razors or electric razors these days. All right. But it is a fun pattern. It's unique. I love the particulars on this event knife as far as the special shield on it. The limited run makes it a collector series, and that antique bone really turned out well with all the combinations of the process of that bone. As far as the dyeing, possibly toasting, possibly even a little scrimshaw type work on it. It's turned out really nice. So this is my only one-arm razor in the collection, and this covers the 3 knives for today's series. A couple of my one-offs where I've got a chance to check the pattern out, see if I might want a few more of them. Honestly, out of the 3 on the table, I might pick up another Canoe in the future, or maybe a Canoe of another brand. In fact, I do have a buck Canoe that I like. So out of the 3, I think the Canoe has probably become one of my favorite of the 3 patterns, and something I might consider collecting a few more of, and it makes a really good 5th pocket carry. Well, that's going to do it to me today. I hope you enjoyed it. Not too long, about 15 minutes, 16-minute video. This is Byron from Splitting Slices saying split a slice with a friend soon. Go check out a few case knives and maybe think about participating in the open tag. Please tag me and Tobias Gibson if you would. And until my next video, everybody please take care.